Welcome along to the Conversations podcast here with the TDN. I'm joined by Damian Burns of Lodge Park Stud, where we look back on the 2024 breeding season and we look ahead to what we might expect from 2025. What a coup for us, Damian. Welcome along.
Thanks, Brian. Nice to be here.
I mean, we can't really look back on the sales from last year without looking at the record-breaking Wooten Bassett colt. I mean, it was a fantastic year for you on the farm. I mean, you know, when you think of Lodge Park, we think of New Approach, we think of Woz, we think of all the top-class horses who've been coming from that nursery. I mean, if you want to give us a little bit of a brief history for those of those who may not be aware.
Yeah, well, my grandparents and bought the farm, and they came from Northern Ireland, bought the farm in the early 70s. And I guess they were traders at heart initially. And then they had three sons who were here with them, and Seamus, Morris, and Patrick. And they now are basically, Morris moved up to Ratasker Stud, and Patrick moved to Newlands House, and actually my grandparents moved up to Ratasker as well. Then my parents took over Lodge Park. So I guess in the 80s, they had a few horses in training, the likes of Park Appeal, Park Express, in my grandfather's colours. And then when they all moved up to Kildare, my parents took over here, raced the likes of Classic Park, won the Irish Guineas, Aidan O'Brien's first Classic winner. And then, so we've traded away, good days and bad. But, you know, the show kept on the road. And now there's myself and my brother Jamie are in Lodge Park, and my brother Ronan is in Herbertstown House up in Kildare, and then my brother Paddy is in Locktown. So, there would be sort of an amount of stock, which would be the Lodge Park stock, which would be my mother's stock. And myself and Jamie have been looking after that. We kind of keep the numbers pretty tight. There's about 10 to 12 mares in that. And I suppose gradually we have all started to build our own. The sons have started to build our own broodmare bands. So we're about 400 acres here in Lodge Park, and there's part of the farm which I kind of take care of, and then there's another part that Jamie takes care of. He would day to day take care of more of my mother's stock, and I have kind of built in my own bit as well, you know.
So what you're telling me was that 4 million in your back pocket, or was it?
Very much not in my back pocket, I'm afraid. So I suppose, like, we've all chipped in to help what would be Lodge Park, you know, which would be, like I said, from my mother's business, and we helped out with that. And then we've kind of had to start out. We obviously had use of the facility, which is a great thing, but we've all had to go out and buy our own stock. Myself and Ronan started off pin hooking, that sort of thing, just to gradually building up the cash flow. Like, it's obviously a lot easier to do when you have the facility there to use, and you have probably some sort of a safety net that, you know, maybe you're not going to be seen let go hungry if didn't quite, you know. But no, we've all had to make our own beds, you know.
And just for your own self, I mean, there's horses there that I'd associate with you: Signora Cabello, Ocean Road, Regional, the Group 1 winning sprinter, and then you've got Bright Stripes. And I just think the latter is more interesting, because when I dug into that pedigree, the mare was a tough, hardy mare, but she wasn't the most obvious mare. But, you know, she probably spoke to the philosophies that you've, you know, built up in tough, soundness, good race horses, and she's after, you know, producing Bright Stripes in there, who could be he's already a group horse, and, you know, proper middle distance side for the year ahead.
Yeah, look, I suppose there's no with like there's the I bought that mare myself. I went out in a bit of a limb. I'd say no one else would have touched her because she was coming off the track. She was stakes place mare. Um, she just, I mean, her pedigree. There was just a half the page was white. There was nothing under, you know.
Mm.
But I had watched that. I had watched her race, and it is something that I really pay a lot of attention to. She was tough. She tried her heart out. She used to go from the front and put her head down, would not let them. So she won 7 races from 42. And I just, like I said, anyone would tell you, you just can't touch that pedigree. But but I just said, you know what? If she brings that bit to the party, I'll try and get breed racehorses out of her. And so she's had 5 foals. She's had 2 black type horses, and her 2-year-old there this year was he won in Goodwood and was fourth in a stakes race. So he's almost 3 black type horses from her 5 foals, you know. But
Mm.
look, it's not that was she's probably an outlier in what I tend to do, but she was just one of those that I just couldn't leave behind because she was just so tough and hardy, you know. But she probably hasn't been. She missed a couple of years, so I probably, you know, just didn't go forward or whatever. And I probably haven't really commercially, financially got the benefit of breeding those horses out of her, you know. And you know, she'd need to. So it is, although it's a nice story commercially. It's been. I'm in profit, but nothing life changing. If you know what I
Yeah.
mean.
Well, just the reason why I really think she's interesting is because it has become really difficult to source the raw material. It was Paul McCartan who brought that up to me recently, and he's a man that I know, but he just thinks that those mares they're not coming on the market anymore. So you really have to think outside the box. And you, who's trying to build an organic broodmare band and keep it tight and keep quality up to kind of facilitate for this market. I mean, how have you found recruiting mares, and did you buy many last year?
Me personally, I bought 1 mare last year. I'll get back to her in a second, but I guess, like I said, when I started out to try and get cash flow going when I was maybe early 20s, myself and my brother Ronan started pinhooking a bit together. Just, I think we bought our first horse, and I think Dad paid for it, and then we got a few quid profit, and we paid him back, the initial outlay, and we kind of went on from there, and we got to a stage where we got a couple of nice touches, and then we started maybe bought a mare together, etc. So it took. So I suppose it maybe was a little bit easier then, but you've when you're starting out at 20, 30, 40 or whatever, or even less sometimes, you're going to have to forgive something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And luckily things have gone relatively well, and now I suppose you can. I've been forgiving a little bit less. As far as I suppose the one thing you always have to remember, unless someone has died, most mares in the sales are effectively being culled by somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless there's not that many people. There's the odd one whose business model is to race and sell. Okay, the scepter sessions, etc., have maybe changed that a little bit. That people are going, okay, but I'm afraid, like if someone is going to the scepter sessions, that they're 2 or 3 million, I'm not going to be buying them. But bar someone has died, and again, when it is dispersal, you usually have to pay a premium. So, like I said, a lot of these horses are effectively culls, even though they might be on the higher end.
Yeah.
So, look, when I've got to the stage, luckily, where I've built I kind of keep my number is about 10 mares or so, and like we're very much here that we try and keep the numbers tight because we have a certain way of raising stock, and there is only a certain number that to do it properly. We'll winter all our foals, yearlings out. Get them out as much as possible, but out on good solid ground. So you can't. We don't want to overstock the farm. We kind of will sort of you will use cattle and sheep, etc., to get the grass down in the summertime, but then you try and really have it really good for the winter. in that you'll so that the horses are really thriving through the winter. I think it's important, because it's rather than waiting for April or May to get to thriving, that they're really building all the time. But anyway, sorry, I'm a bit tangential there. But so look, I'm always,
What was the
I'm
mare that you
always, yeah, I'm always kind of, I could go to the mare sales one year and buy three, and I could go 2 years without buying one. They're either right or they're. So I bought a mare from Godolphin called Dubai Love,
Okay. Oh, yeah.
who's she's a stakes winner by Night of Thunder, and I'd she's a mare I'd kind of known quite well. I didn't really expect her to come up in the sales. She was the top price foal in Night of Thunder's first crop, and I remember her very well. I loved her actually. I'd followed her in to try and buy her, but Godolphin bought her, and she was a good, tough race mare. Multiple stakes mare, and I'd seen the stock from her mother. Again, like, look, when you're a commercial breeder, you have to do two things. For me, you have to breed race horses, but you also have to breed sales horses. So if like, I kind of get that mare, the dam of that mare, I'd seen a lot of stock out of her. I'd seen there was a nice 2 darn hot actually beside us at the early sales out of her, and she had stock by their other stallions that had sold well. Her Baiid foal was nice last year. The mare was breeding, the Dubai Love's mother was breeding very good stock. I knew this filly was a very good foal herself. She was by Night of Thunder. She is effectively carrying her first foal. So look, I didn't think I'd be able to buy her, to be honest. But what I had to forgive, like I said, you had to forgive something. She had lost her first foal, so it was when it was born had an issue, and so that I think I paid 180,000 guineas for. I would felt without that history,
Yeah.
I would say you were probably closer to double that for a stakes winning Night Thunder, smashing looking from a good looking family.
And did she have a cover? Did you say?
Pardon?
Did she have a cover?
Yeah, so she was back and foal in one cover to Palace Pier.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Who commercially hadn't the best year last year in sales ring, but was still a very good racehorse. And I'd hope that being such a good looking mare, that maybe she might breed one of the better ones by him. And obviously he has his chance as a very good racehorse, But I suppose, like I said, I had to forgive something. What I forgave was her first pregnancy didn't go particularly well. I did a lot of research on what happened, and look, who knows? We'll see what happens. But it was one of those things. But what I won't forgive on is physical. What I won't forgive on is temperament. Soundness, etc. All those things, and so, and I suppose the fact that it was my own money I was spending. If it doesn't work out, it's on me, and I'm fine with that. Whereas I suppose if you're buying for someone else, you couldn't say, listen, take a chance on this one.
So that kind of was my next question. I wonder what were the basic principles when you do select a mare. You said, the physical is a big thing, soundness,
yeah, absolutely.
To it. Obviously,
okay, of course, you want as much as you possibly can. The non-negotiables are at this stage. Look, like I said, my broodmare band is quite tight, so I kind of work on how would you say, like, commercially. Look, you need the proper stock going to the sales. So every October or whatever, September, October, August, whatever it could be, you have a lorry leaving here with yearlings going to the sales.
Yeah. And
I always say, well, if you want what's right going out the gate, then you need what's coming in the gate in December needs to be absolutely right. So it's look, it doesn't always work out, but if you only let the right stuff in the gate, hopefully what's going out the gate will be as close to as best you can, But look, so absolutely no, at this stage, no compromise on physical, Um, try not to compromise on temperament. Soundness, any soundness issue at all. Look, like I said, my numbers are small, so
Mm.
I cannot be dealing with. I just don't. I want to be, when I'm choosing stallions, I want to be able to bring everything right to the party. And if he has an issue, maybe that my mare will look after it. You know what I mean, or it can give you a little bit more confidence.
Yeah. I
Um,
think that model of smaller numbers and higher quality seems to be not only in the mare game. I know you don't do as much pinhooking anymore, but certainly the foal game. I think the Yeomanstowns, the Tally Hoes of this world, I think they're. Well, I don't think it's evident that they're going to the market now to try and buy the 150 grand foal that might make 500,000 at the yearling sales. Is that's just the way the thing has gone? Maybe you could never get as much for the good horse nowadays, but the middle to lower tier horses, they've never been worth less. Is that kind of the way it's gone? Or
it is definitely the way it's gone. Look, I think it's probably a function of the world economy, really. I mean, the top 1% or whatever is, they're rich and getting richer. And we are a luxury product, and those people want the best. They want whatever the best thing is, and that is fair enough. And so it's so that is where the money is, and globally, and we have to cater for that market. It is bloody not. It is not simple to do, and I'm afraid it is tough. I mean, the bottom end is tough, but I mean, I do not see it changing. Um,
does that make it hard
Against that,
to have a few chancier mares around the place, or not?
of
That
course it does.
yeah,
No, no, no. Look, I've had championship mares, and I probably still have, but um, I I don't have. I mean, breeding is about being patient. Obviously, that is the
yeah,
number one thing because it takes time. But if a mare is not performing, I'm not too patient with her. Because I said you just like again, it's like you can try and be smart, and you can get if you have to breed those elite models. Like it's not all necessarily all about spending fortunes on nominations, but you have to be very, very smart about it. And you just hope your mayor is bringing a bit to the party. That's like you see. Look, you see what our dads and territories and things like that, and who are horses making 500,000, 700,000. I mean, it's still doable. But it's tough. I
yeah,
mean, I wouldn't object to using a cheaper stallion, but I'd really have to um, feel strongly about it for a certain reason, and have
yeah,
done over the years. But it is definitely getting tighter.
yeah. And I thought last year some of the models, you mentioned the territories there making all that money. Some of the models did make plenty of money, and that was encouraging for breeders.
Yeah, I actually underbid him as a foal.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, yeah. Anyway,
Okay, right. Well, you've done well
to bring
with that
that one up. Yeah,
regional as well. So, but
yeah.
we won't mention it too more. We won't mention the war, but I don't think that year in particular will determine too much what you do going forward, because you always breed for the track, and you always breed for the track. So, I mean, where would your matings be going this year? Like, I don't think you are a slave to fashion.
No, look, you definitely. I found that's. I suppose. Look, I've been stood at stable doors long enough, and at sales, and it's just. I've learned. Luckily, I suppose it's a privilege to have been able to grow up in a thriving commercial enterprise. But you know, I've also seen it hasn't always been perfect either.
Yeah,
But what I have learned is that it's when you breed those racehorses you that's like that Wooden Basset horse. Okay, he made huge money, and a lot of his relations have made big money in the sales ring. But like, why did they make big money in the sales ring? It's because New Approach won the Derby, and it's because Woz won the Oaks. I mean, that's why. You
Yeah.
know, it was there was there was people going, "Oh, well done, you." Last year, you've sold the top price filly and the top price colts historically in Europe, and it's like great, that's great. But I said we sold. I said they were the only ones who've sold a Derby winner and an Oaks winner since the turn of the century out of the sales too. That's the reason. Which comes first? It's actually putting that horse on the track. So when
Yeah.
you breed an elite horse like New Approach, that's when people. That's it's. I've learned that is what drives everything. That is, I mean, it makes sense, but if you're not breeding those racehorses, people are going to walk. They're not going to come back to you, and that's absolutely fair enough.
You'll have a short shelf life in essence.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. And I mean, even like, with a young mare, if you might get a few quid out of her first time round or second time round, but if you if she's not doing the business, she's gone. She's going to be gone in a few years, and I'd rather be getting a little bit for the first few and then getting the big one. Like, I kind of work on it. Like, it's not a very strict thing, but if you get a new mare, if you spend the first 5 years, let's say if you're going to keep her,
Yeah.
and that's the plan when you get a new mare. You spend the first 5 years. Your only thing you should be saying is, I want to breed a racehorse. I have to get that racehorse. Okay, you're going to have commercial considerations. You'd like to be getting paid for them as you go. So you could spend that first 5 years or so. Like I said, this is very vague. It's not,
Yeah.
it's not very strict. But you spend the first 5 years, you really try and get those racehorses on the ground. Okay, if that has worked, you've got the racehorse on the ground. Okay, she's still here. Okay, if she hasn't done it, she's not here anymore. That's it. She's not good enough. She's still here. She's bred those couple of black type horses. Okay, next 5 years. Now we got to make hay. We got to reap the rewards of what. So you're going to try and make a few quid. So
Yes.
you're going to measure a little bit more commercially for a few years. Again, you're trying to breed those racehorses, but you have to reap what you've sown that few years, and that's going to keep your. And then she's getting a little bit longer in the tooth. She's really still doing the business for you. The next 4 or 5 years, like say, if she's still around, maybe you're going to mate her to maybe keep a filly to go to the next generation to do it again.
Well, you do. You haven't made a success of it by going to the top stallions every year. Is there something you're going against the grain this year?
No, I was just actually. I was only thinking about it. I'm not using Australia this year, and I'm actually kicking myself. So I would love to use him. I think he's crazy price for the standard of stallion that he is. You
Somebody,
know,
yeah, 10
um,
grand.
yeah. Look, he needs a certain. For me, he needs a certain sort of mare. I have a yearling by him, and actually the same mare is back in Fulton. Um, but it's a sharp Danehill dancer mare. Um,
Okay.
who is a little bit flighty as well. She'd be sharp mentally as well.
Okay.
And she was kind of 6 furlong mare, but and I think like Australia, you're getting serious. For me, you're getting serious bang for your buck. Um, but look, you don't want to be sending them uh, a big slow thing either. You know what I mean? Because he's not.
Okay.
But I mean, for what he gets you ratings wise, etc. For 10 grand, I mean, like I said, I'm kicking myself, but I've only a small boomer band. It just happens he just doesn't fit this year.
Yeah.
Um, and like there's lots of stallions that you know I go, geez, I'd like to use him, but it's just, oh well, that's it. It's not. It just doesn't fit that particular mare. You
Yeah.
know. So look, what else am I using this year? I have a nice mare going to young mare going to No Nay Never. Again, she like obviously he's a very good stallion, but he's at the mare. Again, you have to use your head. His mare with big. She's a big action. She has a very good mind. Has bred her first few foals. Have had very good mind on her. Some high chaparral mare, young stakes, black type high chaparral mare.
The
Um,
Buongiorno, is it?
Bongiorno, yeah.
Yeah.
Look, she's just starting. She's her new bay made 390 there. It's gone to Andrew Balding, uh, last year's yearling. But um, I just also like she's very good mentally, like because the nowadays can, if that whole scat daddy line can be quite, you wouldn't be sending anything too hot to them, from my opinion,
Yeah.
just trying to do the right thing. But I liked as well that in his first crop, his top price yearling was actually out of a high shap mare, and his top price yearling this year was out of a high shap mare as well. Look, that's I'm not really that much into crosses, etc., but it was, and he's bred armor and a few other horses out of high shaps as well.
Yeah. It's kind of ironic that maybe it was the fact that he was put in the shade somewhat to Wooten Bassett, but it's ironic he had a Group 1 winner in Whistlejacket, but still, you could argue that he is a bit of value this year in No Nay Never.
Yeah, look, I mean, he doesn't cover huge books, so he's always been probably priced relatively high.
Okay.
Um, you know, that's basic economics, I guess, because he's not going to handle the massive books. But yeah, look, he's a very good horse at getting good 2-year-olds, and obviously then you have the likes of alcohol free and who can train on and do good things too.
Yeah.
But as a young mare, trying to give her every chance to, like I said, first 5 years, trying to put those racehorses on the ground.
Yeah. And then, how would that have affected you when you were pinhooking? I mean, what would have been the philosophy when you were pinhooking? Were you still trying to buy the racehorse? Mightn't be as easy to do that as to make money pinhooking when you're not following fashion. And
Yeah, look, no, look. The basic rule of pinhooking is, buy low, sell high.
yeah,
Look, you don't. Pinhook is a little bit different. Yeah, that is the bottom line. But at the same time, if you aren't breeding those racehorses, you you know, again, that's not going to last too long. Look,
yeah,
but a lot of what I'm saying is, you might say, oh, it's very idealistic. Oh, you breed these racehorses, etc., etc. But I mean, you have to eat and you have to keep the cash flow going. So
yes, yes,
it's, if you have a broodmare band that is, that some young mares, some, mares, maybe 10, 12, 13, and then maybe a couple of older girls, they might all be at different stages, and some are paying for what you might be doing with the others.
yeah.
But
Where do you sit with stats in selecting the stallion? And there's all sorts of different ways to interpret stallions and how they're performing these days. But I think you just said that you're not huge on maybe nicks or something. Maybe I picked you up wrong there. But what do you take into consideration when you're looking
yeah,
at?
well, like when it comes to nicks, I think it's like you know I suppose I find it very simplistic. You know,
There?
um, I I find it, how would you say, if there's a nick out there, go. I'm more in. I'm not. It's not so much, okay, that's working. It's, why is that working? What's the reason for that? And like you see, like, okay, there was this nick of Galileo on top of Dane Hill, you know, um, and I mean, look, it just so happened with the age profile, etc. Most of those well-bred Dane Hill mares were, in a certain ownership with access, and it was the best bred ones
Yeah,
were of breeding age, and they ended up in the same ownership as Galileo, and he was covering the best of them.
yeah,
But what I put down as well, though, is the reason for that would be, um, like Dane Hill. I think the two stallions really suited each other very well, in that Dane Hills, they could be a little bit coarse. They often have a nice bit of bone, and they could be a bit upright back of the knee. And then you had Galileo, and Dane Hill had that bit of speed. And then you had Galileo, who probably appreciated the faster mare, maybe a little bit more style. That's the whole saddle as well design, a bit more style, a bit softer, the pasterns, etc. And it was probably a marriage made in heaven. And then, like I said, opportunity of all the well-bred ones coming and hitting. So, of course, it's a fantastic cross, but I think you need to dig down a bit more than, oh, that cross works, you know.
Okay.
When it comes to when you're making a decision, like I said, on that Camelot mating or the No Nay Never mating, you're trying to really match up temperament, physical. I mean, they
Yeah.
are the most important things. But then I will go into all the stats. I think when you're making any decisions in this game, you know, you need to bring everything together. You
Okay.
know, I don't think you can uh, make a decision on a mating from an office. You know,
Yeah.
solely. You know what I mean? Without actually, of course, you can do it, but I think to do it really well, you actually need to know that mares. You need to know her stock. You need to you need to experience it. I mean, it's and sitting inside doing things at a computer. It's like I do it. You know, I go through all the stats. I go, you know, but I think you have to bring everything together to try and get it. And it's still you're still dealing with Mother Nature, but to try and get it as right as you possibly can. So like I look at all the stallions statistically, you know, and then I look at things like, you know, the opportunity that the stallions get, and some are covering much smaller books than others. I mean, I pay absolutely no heed to um, the numbers, the numbers of winners, or the numbers are very little heed to the number of stakes winners. It's the percentage of stakes winners is what's important, you
Yeah.
know. Um, I mean, if you've covered 250 mares and you've got 10 stakes winners, I mean, you haven't done half a good as job as the one who's covered 80 and got 5, you
Yeah.
know? But sorry, that's mathematically not correct, but you know where I'm coming from. You know,
And what about
um,
average ratings and things like that?
yeah, of course, it's there's
They can be drilled down,
uh,
can't they?
yeah, no, listen, again, I look into everything, but I do feel that for me as a breeder, I feel that those things are out there. But what is a little bit, what I would love to see, and which is a bit harder to access, is your how would you call it? Soundness. You know, if it's just, I think it's doable, and it is out there a little bit. But how do you measure soundness? I mean, okay, what's your foal crop? How many of them ran at 2? How many of them ran at 3? You know, what's the percentage of horses that actually hit the track? And then the ones that hit the track, how many times did they run? You know, I mean, this is the stuff I would really like to know, and because some stallions have reputations, um, you know, they could be flashed in the pan, but I'd really like to see that to be more upfront and was exposed to as breeders. These are the horses they run. They most of the stallions horses hit the track and they run plenty and they progress from race to race. I don't like again. There's this is where your average ratings. There's some stallions and the horse could hit its top rating on its second start or its first start, and you look at that rating, and go, God, it's statistically great. Yeah, but I mean, he ran 4 times in 2 years, and he flashed. He was 95 first time, 102 second time, and then we didn't see him for a year, and I think I didn't see him for a year, and then he ran to 82, and then the next time he ran to 70, and we've never seen again. I'm exaggerating for effect, but it's but I think
You want to see them
I'd
go
love.
from here, as as if it was a Willie Mullins novice hurdler. Just
Yeah,
improve, improve.
well, I don't know what that is. I have no clue without national hunt. Sorry, I don't know what that is at all.
I used to have
But
more of a clue before I joined the TDM, but yeah,
no, I'm joking. I'm joking.
yeah,
But
yeah.
this is you're talking. You're talking to the place where Walking the Park came from. So you know,
That's true.
but that was not the plan, by the way. But
Yeah,
anyway,
He's taken over now, isn't he? Yeah. Is there anything more? I suppose the one thing I would look back on is like when you look at these horses, Signora Cabello, Ocean Road, Regional. You're talking there, Camacho, Australia, territories. So
Yeah.
here's one. I'll put you on the spot. Give us one or two stallions who you think are performing well on stats, or am I putting you completely on the spot? Something under the
I'd say,
radar. Could be some
ooh,
people reading it or watching this, and they might just want to pick your brain.
yeah. I often would, but there is not one that I this year that is jumping at me.
Okay.
No, genuinely, I don't mean to be. Look, um, I am using See the Moon next year.
Okay.
Um, I think he's probably slipped to a fee that is, uh, you know, definitely a lot more workable than last year. But I think he's very interesting at his price.
Did you get well paid
He's
for one at the Orby last year, or am I? No.
we had yeah okay
Okay. Okay.
okay. She wasn't a perfect specimen. She
Okay.
was, but I actually we have another one to sell this year. I mean, he's look. I have no objection to using the more staying type stallion.
Yeah.
Actually, this year probably in the matings, we've probably gone slightly more towards the mile and a quarter type horse. Even mile and a half. I've no like I said, I don't like if a horse. If I'm breeding a mile and a half horse or a 5 furlong horse, it doesn't matter. Is it a good horse? That's what I really am worried about. If you're on a limited budget and it's high risk strategy, but like the historically the one way to almost guarantee yourself making money is to use that horse who's going to be successful before he has runners. That's but who knows what that one is.
Okay.
But historically I've seen it like over years. That is the way.
Yeah. But what I've got from this conversation is that the philosophy of Lodge Park Stud is all about producing racehorses. I think you used the word idealistic, and perhaps it is idealistic to other people, but I think in the long term, it takes a lot of hard work to build up a reputation, and you can lose it overnight. But by producing the racehorses and not so much the sales horses, people keep coming back to you, and I'd have a wager that Wooten Bassett was fantastic and it was meant a lot to you. And obviously, it's a huge achievement to have a record-breaking horse through the ring, but doubt it compares to seeing your horse like New Approach or was storming up the hill at Epsom.
No, it definitely doesn't. What I would say to you is though, like again, um, look, you as a mayor who breeds your racehorses, if as a commercial breeder, a mayor who breeds your racehorses but doesn't breed your sales horses is no good to you.
Okay.
Okay, like Classic Park, she bred us. She won the Irish Guineas. Sorry, my mother's mare, obviously, but she won the Irish Guineas. She bred Walking Park second, and she bred Soon. Galileo filly won a stakes race, 75 grand she made as a yearling, 70 or 75. She bred the race horses. She just didn't operate particularly well commercially and
Okay.
we have none of that line left now. You
Okay.
know,
Yeah.
So like it's yes, of course you need to breed race horses, but if they don't look the part, you aren't going to get paid because it's bloody competitive up in that sales complex.
Yeah.
It is. So like it's the mare, the golden geese are the ones who can do both. So that is what was Alluring Park. She's still here, but she's obviously not breeding anymore. But you think of Alluring Park, you think of Shasti in Newsells,
Oh yeah.
you think of Prudensia in Mosso. They're the ones. I mean, they are not the greatest mares that have ever set foot on the planet. They're elite. They're absolutely elite, but like they're not. They haven't bred, 5 Group 1 winners, or they're not Urban C, let's say, But as a commercial breeder, they are the ones because they're breeding you those really good racehorses, but they're breeding you those proper looking stock that vet well, etc., as well.
Okay. If I was just finally ask you, looking ahead towards the year, if you were to have any aims, or are you a type of guy who has aims and goals? I mean, what would be the aim for Lodge Park and for yourself? Just continue producing.
Yeah, look, I mean, yeah, you need black type horses every year.
Yeah.
There's like our numbers aren't big, so, and if you need to put black type horses on every single year, and look, there should be some years can be. I remember in my yard here, I prepped the first year I prepped that I was here. It was 2014 or something like 20, something like that. Anyway, I mean, the first year anyway, I prepped yearlings here. I had a yard full of fillies, and it was Paddy and Jamie were in the other yard. They had all the colts. I think I had 10 fillies in the yard with various price points, and and 5 of them were stakes horses. In as it turned out, and they were in different ownerships. It just happened I did the fillies that year.
Yeah.
But it was just like that is when if you can do something like that, you are your business is going to be okay. Going forward,
Well, something tells me you're going to be okay going forward, David.
Well,
Really appreciate that. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Brian. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.